Most people think about their puppy's first flight the way they think about their own first flight. A little scary, a little exciting, something you get used to. What they do not realize is that what happens inside a young animal's body during air travel is a completely different conversation from what happens inside yours. I am Jordan Ellis, Senior In-Cabin Pet Specialist at Rockstar Pets. And today, I am walking you through what actually happens to a puppy's body during its first flight. The physiology, the stress response, what age and breed have to do with it, and why understanding this changes everything about how you think about who should be with that animal when it happens. Let's start with cabin pressure. Commercial aircraft cabins are pressurized to simulate an altitude of roughly 6,000 to 8,000 feet above sea level. For a healthy adult human, this is barely noticeable. For a young animal whose cardiovascular and respiratory systems are still developing, it creates a measurably different physiological environment than anything they have ever experienced. Oxygen availability is slightly reduced. The air is significantly drier than anything they have breathed before, and the pressure differential affects their ears and sinuses in ways they have no framework to understand or communicate. Unlike a human who can yawn, swallow, or chew gum to equalize ear pressure, a puppy has no conscious mechanism for managing that sensation. What you may interpret as general anxiety or restlessness mid-flight may actually be a puppy responding to ear pressure they cannot explain and cannot relieve. A trained pet attendant recognizes that distinction. An untrained person does not. Now let's talk about the nervous system. A puppy between 6 and 12 weeks old is in one of the most critical developmental windows of its entire life. This is the period when their brain is most actively forming associations between experiences and emotional responses. A highly stressful first flight during this window does not just affect that journey. It can create lasting anxiety associations with travel, with carriers, and with the sensory environment of an airport that affect that animal for years. This is not theoretical. It is developmental science. And it is why the quality of care during a young animal's first flight matters in a way that extends far beyond the day of transport. Breed matters enormously in this conversation, and almost nobody is talking about it. Brachycephalic breeds, dogs with shortened snouts like French bulldogs, pugs, English bulldogs, and Boston terriers, have compromised respiratory anatomy that makes the reduced oxygen environment of a pressurized cabin significantly more challenging for them than it is for other breeds. Their ability to thermoregulate through panting is less efficient, and their risk of respiratory distress at altitude is measurably higher than a breed with a standard airway. Many airlines have outright banned brachycephalic breeds from cargo transport for exactly this reason. In-cabin transport with a trained pet attendant who understands breed-specific respiratory risk is not just a preference for these animals. For some of them, it is the only responsible option. Temperature regulation is the next piece of this. Puppies are significantly less efficient at regulating their own body temperature than adult dogs. In the variable temperature environment of an aircraft cabin, where the air near the floor can be several degrees cooler than the air at seat level, and where the temperature can shift during boarding, ascent, and descent, a young animal is working harder than you realize just to stay comfortable. A trained pet attendant accounts for carrier positioning, monitors for early signs of thermal stress, and adjusts throughout the flight. An untrained person is not thinking about any of this. Finally, there is the sensory load. Engine noise, cabin pressure changes, unfamiliar smells, the movement of people around them, the vibration of the aircraft. For an animal experiencing all of this simultaneously for the first time, the cumulative sensory demand is significant. The way that experience is managed in real time determines whether that puppy lands calm and settled or lands depleted and distressed. A professional pet attendant is not just a companion on the flight. They are an active manager of every one of these variables for the entire duration of the journey. They know what to watch for, when to intervene, and how to keep a young animal's stress response from compounding into something that affects their health and their long-term relationship with travel. This is why in-cabin pet logistics is not a luxury. For a young animal on its first flight, professional care is not an upgrade. It is the difference between a developmental experience that goes well and one that does not. I am Jordan. If this is the level of care your pet deserves, subscribe. New videos every week from inside the world of in-cabin pet aviation. We will see you in the next one.